Hi guys, welcome to another Revit session. Today we're going to be looking at work sharing and how to set up worksets and the use of a central file. So what we're going to look at is understanding work sharing concepts, how to enable work sharing on our project, optimizing worksets in our model, and managing the workflow for work sharing. So work sharing refers to the use of worksets to divide our model for the purpose of sharing our project. Working among multiple people, it could be with 2 people, it could be 10, 20, as many people as you like. Worksets are a customizable collection of building elements that can be used to manage our project. They help the design team so that they can have additional control over the visibility and elements and ownership of those parts also, allowing for several people to collaborate and work within the same file. And that's pretty much the key thing about worksets. It makes it really handy for multiple people to work on the same file at the same time. By default, worksets is not enabled, and when you start a project, normally it is not a central file and is used in a single user environment. So it's something that has to be enabled. Work sharing usually is commenced when worksets are enabled within the project file. This file is then saved and becomes the central file and is located on the network drive. The central file then becomes a repository where all the design team's work is saved. Each team member has a local copy on their own hard drive, and that content is then saved back to the central file when the user saves that file. Local copies of the model remain within that file, and it connects back to that central file to have that seamless workflow. So enabling the work sharing, this is something we're about to embark on. So we're going to look at how we create a central file, creating the worksets and using our Dynamo script to optimize the process, moving items to the correct worksets, and then getting the file ready to be closed, then it can be used by others. So let's have a look at a file that I've got ready here. Let me just close this screen, close that down. I'll bring this one across. Okay, here's a project I've got ready for us that has some links that have been brought into it, different files, and also the file that's within this file also. But you can also see it's got a few groups and a few different elements. We're about to bring more people on the team to work on this project, so it's time to make this a central file. How do you do that? Well, the first thing you do is go up to the ribbon and over to the Collaborate tab, and you'll see under Manage Collaboration, the Collaborate button. Now this is for version 2017. I believe also 2016 will have the same feature. So clicking the Collaborate, it does ask you to save the model, which we will do. We will save this model as it stands at the moment. This dialog box comes up asking how we want to collaborate. In our instance, we're collaborating on our own network, not using the cloud solution. So we're going to select the first tab so it works on our local network. So once that is done, you will see that up in the Manage Collaboration, there is now 2 worksets that have been created. You can manage it through the top of the ribbon here, but you can also manage it down the bottom of the page. If you click on the little icon, it will load up and it's on the other screen, and you can see here that it's by default created 2 worksets. And if you've got grids and levels already in your project, levels you always will, it automatically separates that into its own workset. Everything else at the moment is defaulted to workset 1, and I'm the owner of them all. What we're going to do, that we have a standard list of worksets that we use in the office. So what we can now do is use the Dynamo script to add that to the file. And I'll show you how we do that. So I'm going to go to the Manage tab and open up Dynamo. I'm going to pull that over to this screen. And I'm going to navigate to our file. We are going to be opening this one here, which is the Create Worksets. So you can see there our path. I'll take you to the path, which is in our Assets, BIM 2017 in this instance, Data Files, Dynamo Scripts, and we're going to be running Create Worksets, GN. Now it's quite a simple script. It's literally just going to a basic Excel document and getting the information and creating that list and creating the work sets for us. So to run this script, it's really simple. All you have to do is hit the Run button down the bottom left-hand side. It literally goes and grabs the Excel document and should run that script. So if I now go back into Revit, we should see now that all our standard work sets have now been applied to that file. Now that is done, what we can start to do is move items to the correct work set. So you can see there is a basic group of work sets applied. Whether they be linked DWG files, other Revit files, but you can also start breaking it up into structural services, building services, site context, sorry, interior layouts, and in this example, it being a residential, we also have units. So seeing by default we have this work set that everything is on, I'm going to rename this one and I'm going to bring that back over to this window and I'm going to call that units, this example. I also have a bit of control here where I can have visibility over what is seen in which views, so it's kind of like a visibility override on the overrides. And at the moment I'm the owner of all items. So what I can do so other people will be able to use that file is have it non-editable. Before I can do this, I have to save the file. So I'll save the file first. File, save as, and by me saving this file, it's now going to become, which I'll move it to, where should I move this file to? You know what, I'll still leave it here. Usually you would put this into the project file, and the moment I do that, which I may actually set up a test environment here for the moment. I'm going to save this file in here. And let me see what's going to do. It's going to save that. Perfect. Okay, let's save that file into there. Okay, now that I've saved that, let's go back into here. We're going to rename that, as we said, to units. And I'm going to select them all and make them not editable. Now what that will allow us to do is, once I close this file, all users will be able to use this file, which is, I guess, at the end of the day, what we're wanting this to do. Now that is done, I'm going to save the file. And I'm going to close it. We'll close it completely down. Close all views. Close, close, close. All closed. And now I'm going to reopen the file, but this time I'm going to open it up and you'll see the difference here. So now when I go to select the file, you'll see down the bottom some things that have been activated. And so detaching from central or create new local. Now we're wanting to create a new local file that will put a copy of that central file onto our computer. And when we're working on that file, any changes that we do relate back to the central file and vice versa with other users in your team. So it does a kind of a push and pull of data. And you'll start to hear people saying, can you please save to central, or can you save your work back? So you'll start to hear that as you're starting to work in the process. So let's open up the file. And once it's opened up, you will see something that's different up here in the top here. So it has the name of the file, but it also has your username. So you'll know that you are actually in your file, and that's for you to use on that computer. When you do go from computer to computer, if it's not logged in as yourself, it will show the name of the person who was logged in. So that's something to be aware of. So let's now look at how we can get the file ready for other people to use. So let's look at how we can start breaking this up. So we can see we've got some linked files in here. And when I select the item, you'll see in the Properties dialog box, there is now a Workset tab, and it's showing what Workset it happens to be on. So we now have the ability to move it to a different Workset. So in this example, I'll move that to Site Context. I have another file there. I can move that to other Revit files. And straight away, by doing that, just even visibility graphics, which I'll bring this across, it's also enabled the Workset tab. So if I wanted to turn off all other files here and not show them in this view only, I can hide it, and you can see it turns off. Or if you want to turn it off for all views, what I can do is go into the Worksets and go into here and turn it off in all views. And seeing I've got that set to show, it won't work. So let's change that to bang. You can see it disappears. So that's sort of like a global override of all elements that are within that work set. So I guess this is the point where you start to break down what you actually do need and what you want to see, and clean up the model, put everything into their work sets before everyone else in the team starts to join in. So seeing I've already moved the linked files and the site context, I can turn those off. And I start to work with the elements that I've got here. Now I know I've got some groups in there that I can quickly show you as well. So let me just temporarily hide that element. And you can see I've got a few groups in here that straight away are in units. But I then might want to start to move some of the structural elements. So maybe all the flooring, and select all instances in project. And we want to move that all to structure. And a good tip that I sometimes use is that I may actually turn that work set off. So as I do, the elements will disappear. So all this lower wall, I'd also move that all to structure. So same thing. Entire project. Selecting here. structure, and it moves across. This instance, all these external walls, I'm going to move those all to our envelope. So, external shell. I can see that it has selected some other walls, but I can go back and unselect and change them to the way I want them to be. So the same thing, I'll go to my worksets, external shell, turn so it's not visible. And you start to get a bit of a pattern going on. So all my windows, I'm going to select all my windows. Select on my project, and we're going to move those also to external shell. You get the idea. So I'll bring everything back on by going down to the worksets, make them more visible. And you can see everything comes back on. One tool that I find really handy, and it's being able to see what workset you have on and how you can use it, is a little tab down here, which doesn't get used that often, but when you're in worksets, it makes it really easy to see when you're in the right workset and how you're actually using it. So if you click on it, you have the ability to click on worksets, and what it's going to do is colorize and separate everything into their own worksets, which makes it really handy to be able to see what's what, who's actually using what, and also if things are actually on the right workset or not. So again, let's just temporarily hide that. So all our internal walls got changed to external shell, which isn't correct. But what I can now do is go around and select the items I want to change and move them to the right workset. So in this instance, I'm going to put it on architecture. And as you do, it changes color and you can see the different worksets. So it's a bit of a process, but once you've got it all in its parts, then you start bringing your other team members on. It makes it a lot easier to use. This is the tool I use quite a bit. So you can actually go in and change the colors to any color you want as well. As you can see here, you can do it by who's checked it out, who's owning what elements, what's up to date, deleted items, and obviously the worksets were currently there. And if you need to change the color, you literally can just go in and change to the color you want it to be. So, example, we'll change all the units to a lovely green color. And as I do, it changes everything that's supposed to be on that workset. So guys, I hope you found this helpful. I guess that the main things we've looked at is creating a central file, creating worksets and using our Dynamo script, moving the items like we're just showing here to the correct workset, closing the file and getting it ready for all other users. So I hope you found it helpful and hope to see you in the next Revit session.